The Bad Batch Season 3 is going to connect
everything!
And Grand Admiral Thrawn will continue what Palpatine started and become the heir to the Empire in the upcoming Mandalorian and Grogu movie. But not only that, Supreme Leader Snoke will finally be explained in full detail, and the line,
"Somehow Palpatine returned,"
will not have Star Wars fans doing this. Because from Mount Tantiss to Project Necromancer to The Mandalorian to the sequel trilogy itself, all of it is connected, and this final season of The Bad Batch has already changed the way that many fans look at the entire Skywalker Saga, and I think we're just getting started. Because with the Skeleton Crew, Ahsoka Season 2, The Mandalorian and Grogu movie, and Dave Filoni's Mandoverse movie, no stone is being left unturned, and this entire saga will finally be brought together, connecting the prequels to the originals to the sequels and everything in between. But The Bad Batch Season 3 has already started this process. In Episode 3, Shadows of Tantiss, we learn about the real mission on Mount Tantiss. In that mission is, of course, Project Necromancer. This is the project to create a Force-sensitive clone that Palpatine can put his Force essence into so that he can live forever. And if you want a full deep dive into what Project Necromancer is, go check out this video I already did right here.
Then check this out.
But we do know for a fact that Project Necromancer will not be finished in this third season of The Bad Batch, because it isn't finished anytime soon. Because we saw last year in The Mandalorian Season 3, which takes place about 30 years after The Bad Batch Season 3, that the remnant of the Empire was still working on Project Necromancer.
And provide Commandant Hux enough time to deliver on Project Necromancer.
Meaning, it still isn't a success. Because although the goal for this project is to get a Force-sensitive clone for Palpatine, we do know, because of the sequel trilogy, that this project actually ends with Snoke. But not only do we know that Project Necromancer isn't finished for at least the next 30 years, but we also know that Palpatine's cloning efforts move to the Sith planet called Exegol. Exegol is a hidden planet in the unknown regions. It's extremely difficult to get to, and actually only 2 people in the galaxy can get there by using a Sith wayfinder.
Always 2 there are. No more, no less.
A lot of this is explained in Rise of Skywalker, but Exegol has been around for a lot longer than that. However, Palpatine is on Mount Tantiss during the time of The Bad Batch Season 3. So when does he move to Exegol? Although we don't know the when or the why of Palpatine moving to Exegol, we do know that it happens before the original trilogy. Because in a canon Vader comic, which takes place in between Episode 5, Empire Strikes Back, and Episode 6, Return of the Jedi, we see Darth Vader go to the planet of Exegol, where Palpatine already has all of his cloning efforts moved to. Not to mention the fact that Palpatine also has Luke Skywalker's severed hand on Exegol. But that's a topic for a whole nother video. But Palpatine already having all of his cloning efforts on Exegol by the time of the original trilogy means that The Bad Batch is going to end in one of 2 ways. The first way is going to have this final season end with The Bad Batch sacrificing themselves and blowing up Mount Tantiss, destroying the cloning facility, and Palpatine being forced to move his cloning efforts somewhere safe and far away from the very dangerous galaxy. So he goes to his planet Exegol, which is a pretty secure location, as only 2 people in the entire galaxy can get there with the Sith Wayfinder. But the second way that this Bad Batch Season 3 ends is that Clone Force 99 fails. Hunter, Wrecker, Echo, Crosshair, Omega, they all fail and they all die, but Mount Tantiss stays intact. But even in this second scenario, the Bad Batch got close enough that Palpatine doesn't feel safe in the known galaxy. So regardless of any ending for Clone Force 99, whether they live or they die, their actions at the end of this season to stop the cloning efforts on Mount Tantiss is going to start a chain reaction that puts Palpatine on Exegol and leads to Snoke's creation. However, this won't be the last time we see Mount Tantiss, as I believe that Grand Admiral Thrawn, who we just got introduced in live action in the Ahsoka series late last year, I also refer to him as the Big Blue Meanie, I believe that Thrawn is going to Mount Tantiss in the Mandoverse era, meaning over 30 years after The Bad Batch Season 3 ends, Tantiss will still be a relevant place, and hopefully for Thrawn, a functioning cloning facility. Now, why am I so certain that Thrawn is going to Tantiss? Well, let me tell you about a little Legends trilogy titled Heir to the Empire. This is the first introduction of Grand Admiral Thrawn in Legends, and this trilogy was released in the late 90s. It takes place after Palpatine's death in Return of the Jedi, which is very similar to what's actually going on in canon with the Mandalorian, but in the Legends books, Thrawn goes to Mount Tantiss and uses the cloning facility to create an evil clone version of Luke Skywalker so that he can fight against the heroes. Now, without giving you just too much information about Legends stuff that just doesn't pertain to anything going on with canon right now, but the point of me telling you that is that Mount Tantiss, even in Legends, is extremely important to Palpatine's cloning efforts. And now it's extremely important to his cloning efforts in canon as well. And the reason for that is one man, Dave Filoni. Dave Filoni is in charge behind the scenes. He's the one connecting all of these projects. But he grew up in the 80s and in the 90s when these Legends stories were being told. So he loves to pull from those Legends stories aspects of great storytelling and put them into canon. Now, obviously, the canon version versus the Legend version won't be a one-to-one copy. But when you look at what's going on in canon right now with Thrawn in the Ahsoka show, you can't deny how similar it is to the Legends trilogy, Heir to the Empire. And one of the key locations that's missing from canon that's in Legends is Mount Tantiss. And now Season 3 of The Bad Batch just happens to have Mount Tantiss be the main cloning facility for Palpatine.
Coincidence? I think not!
This final season of The Bad Batch is connecting everything, and it's just getting started. From Project Necromancer, which ends up creating Supreme Leader Snoke, to Mount Tantiss itself, which I do eventually think we will see Grand Admiral Thrawn go to in the Mandoverse time period, to even a hidden Sith planet in the unknown regions called Exegol. From the prequel trilogy to the sequel trilogy and everything in between, The Bad Batch Season 3 will connect it all. But like I said at the top of the video, this is just the tip of the iceberg, as later this year we will most likely see Grand Admiral Thrawn again in Skeleton Crew. Then again, we'll see the Big Blue Meanie in Ahsoka Season 2, and hopefully we see Thrawn go to Mount Tantiss in the Mandalorian and Grogu movie releasing in May of 2026. But this is really happening. Everything in the Skywalker Saga is finally being pulled together in a well-told story from start to finish. But will the canon version of Heir to the Empire involve an evil cloned version of Luke Skywalker? And will Thrawn be coming to a destroyed Mount Tantiss or an intact one? Meaning The Bad Batch Season 3 will end with the destruction of Mount Tantiss. Or do you think this final season of The Bad Batch is setting up something even crazier that I haven't even mentioned in this video yet? But is there a connection that you noticed in The Bad Batch Season 3 to other projects that I might have missed? Tell me in the comments section below. And if you want to know who's under this helmet as the clone assassin in this Bad Batch Season 3, I explain who I think it is in this video right here.